Alright, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashim, Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who will. Got this article for y'all. Globalists promise to improve God's design of man through transhumanism. It's from End Time Headlines. Opinion. It sounds like bad science fiction, but it says opinion, but there's a lot of facts in this article. And it sounds like bad science fiction, but it is rapidly becoming reality. Some of the most powerful people on the planet think they're going to upgrade quote unquote human beings, or at least some human beings through genetic engineering and technological schemes such as brain implants. Yes, really, in fact, they are publicly touting alleged benefits, supposedly including eternal life and even evolving into quote unquote gods. If that all sounds crazy or even diabolical, good, it should, because it is. And yet, the technologies to make some of these nightmarish visions possible are progressing so fast it would make your brain spin. In some cases, the tech already exists. Meanwhile, children around the world are being prepared to embrace it through public schools and quote unquote entertainment. World Economic Forum chief Klaus Schwab, the global frontman for the so called Great Reset, quote unquote, has been celebrating it all for years as part of what he calls the fourth industrial revolution, quote unquote. In his book on the subject and his speeches, Schwab outlined a plan to merge people with computer technologies, brain implants, and even to genetically, quote unquote, improve them. Quote unquote, fourth industrial revolution technologies will not stop at becoming part of the physical world around us. They will become a part of us, quote unquote. Schwab writes in his book Shaping the Future of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, a narrative that he has been peddling for almost a decade in speeches, articles, essays, and books. Quote unquote, indeed, some of us already feel that our smartphones have become an extension of ourselves. Quote unquote, today's external devices from wearable computers to virtual reality headsets will almost certainly become implantable in our bodies and brains. Quote unquote, he continues in the book. Quote unquote, these implantable devices will also likely also help to communicate thoughts normally expressed verbally through a built-in smartphone and potentially unexpressed thoughts or moods by reading brain waves and other signals. Quote unquote. Schwab, who oversees a sprawling organization bringing together political and business leaders from around the world, goes on to suggest that governments can and perhaps should mandate submission to such intrusive technology. "Quote unquote, as capabilities in this area improve, the temptation for law enforcement agencies and courts to use techniques to determine the likelihood of criminal activity, assess guilt, or even possibly retrieve memories directly from people's brains will increase," quote unquote, adds the professor, saying governments could even require a quote unquote detailed brain scan to access the individual security risk. You know, like some out of the Minority Report, right? Eventually, humans. I recommend that movie, The Minority Report. A lot of predictive programming in it. Eventually, humans will merge with technology and become one with it, according to Schwab. At the end, what the fourth, quote unquote, at the end, what the fourth industrial revolution will lead to is a fusion of our physical, our digital, and our biological identities, quote unquote. He declared at a speech at the Chicago Council on Global Affairs, and many since then, and he means it too. See what else they got. Okay. Hold on. Technological upgrades and implants. This is where they got it from. Harbinger's Daily, World News, biblically understood. Technological upgrades and implants. Under the guise of convenience, quote unquote, thousands of Swedes have already implanted microchips in their hands. These RFID chips can and do function as vaccine for the vaccine, passports, money, and keys all rolled into one. Meanwhile, the quote unquote mainstream media has been marketing the chips to Americans for years. There should be no doubt that this will accelerate the governments and central banks around the world move against cash in favor of quote unquote digital payments. While the World Health Organization events global digital quote unquote health certificates, at some point refusing to have one may make it difficult to operate in the society or even to buy and sell. And oh, let me get this part right here. But the microchips under the skin are just one small step compared to what transhumanist activists are planning. Already, government schools are using technological schools that can peer into the mind, technological tools, my bad, that can peer into the minds of children. Around 10 years ago, the U.S. Department of quote unquote education issued a report titled Enhancing Teaching and Learning, quote unquote, Enhancing Teaching and Learning through Educational Data Mining and Learning Analytics, quote unquote, offering a sneak preview into the future. Among other schemes, the document touted some of the highly intrusive technologies already used in federal funded quote unquote education programs. These include the quote unquote facial expression cameras and quote unquote wireless skin conductance sensors. These tools are able to detect children's responses to various stimuli appear into their minds, while computer systems and algorithms vacuum it all up and feed it through an increasingly advanced AI intelligence system to make sense of it all. And let me get what a stimuli is for you ahchyam that may not know. A stimulus is anything that could trigger a physical or behavioral change. Alright, so the plural of stimulus is stimuli. Stimuli can be external or internal. An example of external stimuli is your body responding to a medicine. An example of internal stimuli is your vital signs changing due to a change in the body. Alright, so that's what that is. And peer into the minds while computer systems and algorithms vacuum it all up and feed it through increasingly advanced AI intelligence systems to make sense of it all. According to the federal government, systems to make sense of it all. According to the federal government, one of the goals of these technologies and the data gathering schemes linked to them is to quote unquote make predictions about students' future behavior or performance. Beyond simply predicting, these systems are also being used to manipulate and transform children's values, attitudes, and beliefs. If they have the quote unquote wrong attitude on, say, abortion or open borders, the system will detect it and call for a quote unquote intervention. The United Nations is also involved. In fact, right before the 84 edition was discovered in China, so called, right? So called discovered. The UN convened all of the nation's governments together for an AI in education quote unquote summit in Beijing. The final product of the conference, known as the quote unquote Beijing Consensus on Artificial Intelligence in Education, quote unquote, called on governments worldwide to use AI in quote unquote education to shape the values of children on everything from gender and governance to the environment. So Esau wants the minds of the children. Notice that. In addition, the UN deal demands that governments around the world. Was that scriptural? Train up a child. Let me get it. Train up. Okay, I ain't gonna use that one then. Train up a child versus KJV. There you go. There you go. Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. See, Esau knows these scriptures. You know, he may not be able to get his head around the fact that he's going down, you know, and there's nothing he can do about it, but he does know the scriptures. And he does know the scriptures enough to understand that if you train up a child in the way, in a certain way, then he's not going to depart from it, which is why Esau wants the minds of the children. In addition, the UN demands that governments around the world adjust curricula to promote the in-depth integration of AI and transformation of learning methodologies, quote unquote. And let just this year at a summit put on by Aaron Sohn of State University and his president, intelligence community investment arm boss Michael Crow of NQTel, billionaire Bill Gates boasted that within the next few years, AI could replace human teachers. This will turbocharge the indoctrination of children. One of the essential technologies to make this possible is being developed by Elon Musk through his company Neuralink, which just received government approval for human trials in May. The device, a computer system that replaces part of the skull and is wired into the brain, allows the user's brain to interface directly with computer systems. Eventually, Musk bragged that it would be able to write, quote unquote, on the brain by stimulating it with electricity. It would be perfect for living in the metaverse. Hijacking your mind? While global leaders peddle transhumanism and becoming cyborg is cool, quote unquote, and helpful, their end goals appear to be much more sinister. Consider that scientists and technocrats have sought to control the human mind externally for generations. As far back as the 1960s, researchers such as Yale neurophysiologist Dr. Jose Manuel Rodriguez Delgado were able to control and manipulate the minds of animals such as bulls and even human beings through implants and electrical stimulation. For more sophisticated methods, far more sophisticated methods exist exist today. In April 2017, Rockefeller University announced a new technology developed by Dr. Jeffrey Friedman to exert wireless control over brain cells at the push of a button. "Quote unquote, ready your tinfoil hats. Mind control is not as far fetched as an idea as it may seem," quote unquote, the press release stated, knowing that in Friedman's laboratory it happens all the time, although the subjects are mice, not people. The technology, the announcement says, oh, and before I get into this, they've had shit like MK Ultra, which is a method of mind control, but they want that full control is what they want. The technology, the announcement said, involves installing a door, quote unquote, in cells that are delivered and installed by a genetically engineered virus, quote unquote. Friedman's team realized that they could use a genetically engineered virus to create doorways into a neuron's outer membrane, quote unquote. The university reported, added that once the system was operational, the mouse could practically be remote controlled. Critics such as Professor David Salinas Flores on the Faculty of Medicine at the Universidad Nacional Mayor de San Marcos have warned that the goal is to enslave humanity. Technological implants like brain nanobots might cause losing control of one's own mind and enabling careers to be controlled by others lose their autonomy, quote unquote, he said in a peer reviewed paper. Quote unquote, they can also be used to permanently spy on the user via a cerebral internet connection. A person's memory could also be deleted, robbing them of their identity. "Quote unquote." Does the human? Don't they show that in these dystopian movies? They could delete memories, like they deleted all the harmful memories in the Giver, and then one person had all the memories of the people. He was supposed to hand it down to someone else. Something like that, right? You gotta watch the movie. Gotta watch the movie. Because basically, Esau wants to scrub your mind of this truth. Of anything anything that could put him in a bad light, basically. "Quote unquote," thus the humans who take, like, basically, he's like, nowadays Esau is even trying to say that the that slavery was actually indentured servitude. That the so-called black people wasn't slaves; they was indentured servitude in some states. So imagine if he had control of the minds of those kids. Imagine what he could do. He could delete memories, delete information off of their brain. That's why he wants that ultimate control. He could block the brain from receiving certain information. Esau, he wants to be as the Most High, Yahweh. Isaiah 14, and I'm gonna start at I'm gonna start at verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Verse 13. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend unto heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High Power Yahweh. I will also sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. Verse 14. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High Yahweh. This is what this. Of course, they the heathens, they don't be calling the Most High by His name, but I'm calling him by His name. But they basically say they're said what Esau was in his mind is that he wants to be like the Most High Yahweh. He wants to control. He wants to be omnipotent. He wants to be all knowing. You know, omnipotent, can do anything. He wants to be as the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought to hell, down to hell, to the sides of the pit. And then verse 16 shows that the Lucifer that is being spoken of here is a man. They that see thee shall nearly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, because Lucifer is a title. It means light bearer in Latin. They that see thee shall nearly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? Verse 17, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners. That's why majority of you of the prisoners are who? Are people, you so-called black people, Latinos and Native Americans, and you Israelite foreigners. And also America is like a huge prison for the Israelites. But you get the point. Who Lucifer is, and Esau is being referred to as Lucifer here, and he's trying to become as the Most High, Yahweh. with these technologies, but he's only gonna go so far, you know, cause he ain't gonna, cause the elect are gonna be kept from that hour of temptation. Revelation 3, now Revelation, yeah, Revelation 3 and 10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. And the next few verses showing that is speaking of the elect of the nation of Israel. Behold, verse 11, behold, I come quickly, hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Verse 12, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my power Yahweh, and he shall go no more out, and I'll write upon him the name of my power Yahweh, and the name of the city of my power Yahweh, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my power Yahweh, and I'll write upon him my new name. You know, that shows that is speaking of the elect. The elect are not gonna be deceived by the ultimate false Messiah, which is Esau Edom. The ultimate false anointed one, which is Esau Edom, the self proclaimed so called white man, starting with his elites. They're not going to be deceived. And they're not gonna take his mark. Revelation 15 and 1. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues. From them is filled up the wrath of the Most High Power Yahweh. And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast and over his image stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of the Most High Power Yahweh. They had gotten the victory over the beast and over his image and over his mark. You know, this is that great multitude, the elect of the nation of Israel, scattered through the four corners of the earth, here in Babylon and scattered among these heathens, many looking like the other nations. Verse 3, and they sing the song of Moses, the servant of the Most High Power Yahweh, and the song of the Lamb, saying, great and marvelous are thy works, Lord Power Almighty, just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. Yahweh Power Almighty, just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. Verse 4, who shall not fear thee, O Yahweh, glorify thy name, for thou only art holy, and all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest. Which the elect is going to come out of all nations because Israelites were scattered among all nations. And so the elect were as well. But we all know that the saints are the Israelites. Those in the truth, no. Those who can get it. But those who have eyes to see, right? But anyways, yeah. That's also why it's important to make calling an election sure. Let me get that. And one of the ways is if you're a man in this truth, to push out them videos daily, edifying the flock. Make your calling an election sure. 2 Peter 1 and 10. Wherefore, rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure, for if you do these things, you shall never fall. But anyways, back on topic, right? These devils, they're trying to be the Most High Yahweh. And you two-thirds that are not, you're not of the elect, you're going to be deceived, you know? Let me get that real quick. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 10. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth that they might be saved. That's you two-thirds. They're going to be cut off. And what are they going to be deceived by? They're going to be deceived. Oh, let me get verse 9. Even him who is coming after the working of Satan, with all power and signs of lying wonders. And transhumanism goes back to also the lie of the serpent, which was a man, he was an enchanter. When you look in the Hebrew, Akash, he was an enchanter. Ultimately, he was Esau. He was that same spirit that was in Esau and Cain. When you trace it back, he said that you shall not die, basically, but you shall be as gods if you take this fruit, basically, which represents the philosophies. But This is a philosophy to get you to take the mark of the beast, and which is the RFID chip. And that's one of those lies. That's being pushed to get you to take the RFID chip, even though Yasharallah is already princes of the power. Ye are gods, right? And all of ye are children of the Most High, Yahweh. You don't need to, our people don't need to take no RFID chip in their hand and brain chip. Our people don't need to do that. We don't need Esau's Esau's technologies that are really there to control us. We don't need that. We don't need to risk being permanently spied on, mentally controlled, and losing our identity, becoming a human slave at the service of the transnational companies and the economic powers. Quote unquote. Like the professor added, thus the humans who carry t- technological implants can be permanently spied on, mentally controlled, and they lose their identity, becoming a human slave at the service of the transnational companies and the economic powers. Quote unquote. The professor added. An objective analysis reveals, quote unquote, reveals that transhumanism is only an intellectual swindle that leads to digital fascism, a society where a millionaire elite will govern citizens with technological implants who will be digital slaves at the service of an oligarchy, quote unquote. And that's really this devil wants you to be not just a physical slave, but a spiritual slave as well. He wants to control your thoughts. He wants to control your mind, directly, like a remote control, like he was controlling the mouses in the laboratory. Like you just some lab rats that he's controlling. That's what this devil wants. But he's gonna deceive you. He's gonna deceive you with that lie that, oh, you could become you could become like a god when you're Yasharallah. You're a prince of the power. We're not worried about these heathens because these heathens are through anyways. But worried about we're worried about our people. Specifically the elect, because 2/3 you're through. You're gonna buy into the big lie of Esau. That you're gonna become a god if you take this brain chip. You're gonna become like a god. You could, yeah, you're gonna become like a god. We could save your memories when you die, whatever. You know what they say, right? We could save your brain data when you die, so that you live forever. Oh, you get to communicate telepathically with other people who have the brain chip. All kind of shit. That's how they're gonna deceive you through these lying wonders. Oh, we can cure you. If you have a mental disability, we can cure you with this brain chip. You know, all these lying wonders. It's an intellectual swindle that leads to digital fascism, a society where a millionaire elite, Esau, will govern citizens with technological implants who will be digital slaves at the service of an oligarchy, which means ruled by a few. Some of the luminaries by the term transhumanist agenda have even been bolder. Israeli, not an Israelite. Professor Yuval Noah Harari, a key World Economic Forum figure whose world work has been endorsed by everyone from Barack Obama to Facebook boss Mark Zuckerberg, argues that those, oh, Mark Zuckerberg of Meta, right? Of the metaverse, right? See the connection? Argues that those who merge with machines will become gods, quote unquote. But Harari goes further, one step further than the serpent in the book of Genesis, which promised Eve she and Adam would be as gods, quote unquote. When they were already, when Adam and his sons were the sons of the power. Let me get that. Adam and his sons were, let me get that. Luke 3 and 38, which was the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, which was the son of Yahweh. And also, let me get that scripture. Ye are gods. Exact phrase. Psalms 82 and 6. I have said ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. Verse 7, but ye shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. It was speaking of Yasharallah. He is a prince of power. He is a prince of power, which is the Hebrew way, the ancient Paleo-Hebrew way of saying Israel. Yasharallah. So, the lie is not that we're gods. The lie is that we'll become gods if we take this RFID chip. Nah, gonna die like men and fall like one of the princes. Verse 7. When the serpent said, ye shall surely not die. This is the same way he's pushing this RFID chip. The same way he's pushing that technology on you. That grain of rice on you. The professor suggested that upgraded cyborgs will ultimately be more powerful than the God of the Bible. So you'll be as the Most High, Yahweh, according to this devil. Because they will be able to create inorganic life. Within a century or two, it is very likely that Homo sapiens, human beings, will no longer exist at all. He declared at the Carnegie Council for Ethics and Global Affairs. Another transhumanist bigwig who believes humans will achieve godhood and immortality. Oh, and this man, he could be Esau himself. He could be the serpent himself. Wouldn't doubt it. But another transhumanist bigwig who believes humans will achieve godhood and immortality through merging with technology is Google's chief of engineering, Ray Kurzweil. For many years, Kurzweil has been advocating the merger of the human mind with AI and advanced computer systems to help people think faster and better. And ultimately, there are cosmic implications to all this. In his view, quote unquote, does God exist? He asked rhetorically in the documentary about himself, but I would say not yet. This is the mindset of these devils, man. They're the fools who say there is no power, but at the same time they say they can become a power when they're not Yasharallah. They're not Yasharallah, so they're not even children of the Most High, Yahweh. So how can they be gods? Reminds me of a scripture, Ezekiel 28. Will thou be, uh, well, therefore I will bring, oh, this is what's gonna happen to this man, but this is what it remind me of. This is what it remind me of. Therefore, thus saith the Yahweh power, because thou hast set thine heart as the heart of the Most High power Yahweh. Behold, verse 7, behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations. And they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy wisdom, and they shall defile thy brightness. Verse 8, they shall bring thee down to the pit, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the sea. Don't that line up with Isaiah 14? It's talking about the same devils in a different way. Verse 9, wilt thou say before him that slayeth thee, I am a power? But thou shalt be a man and no power in the hand of him that slayeth thee. Verse 10, thou shalt die the deaths of the uncircumcised by the hand of strangers, for I have spoken it, saith Yahweh power. Yeah, man. But at the same time, this devil, hold on, this is what he says. Hold on, hold on. Psalms 14 and 1. To the chief musician, a psalm of David, the fool saith in his heart, has said in his heart, there is no power. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. So this is the mindset of Esau, but at the same time, he looks at himself as a power, or that he can become a power. Genetically engineering everyone and everything. In addition to the technological implants and upgrades leading to eternal life in the cloud, quote unquote, and even godhood. Your genetic code is in the transhumanist crosshairs too. A growing number of climate alarmists, for instance, quote unquote, climate alarmists, for instance, have proposed genetically engineering people to be smaller so that they will consume fewer resources. And already news reports claim governments from France to China are developing genetically engineered quote unquote super soldiers. Crops and even mosquitoes with altered DNA have been released worldwide, but this is just a start. This is all part of Esau's basically his God complex. He believes that he can be a power or that he is a power. In 2018, Bill Gates touted genetic engineering of everything, including babies, in a bizarre piece entitled "Gene Editing for Good." Writing in Foreign Affairs, the mouthpiece of the Council on Foreign Relations, a globalist quote unquote think tank that think tank is think tank that essentially serves basically one of their crafty councils, one of the secret councils of the wicked that essentially serves the U.S. headquarters of the deep state. Gates argued that genetically modifying crops, livestock, and people was necessary. Apparently, the genetic codes for people and other living things written by the Most High Power Yahweh was not good enough. Were not good enough, but great Gates and his totalitarian buddies promised to improve on those original genes. You know, he wants to recreate you in his image. Esau wants to recreate you in his image. And now the technology to hack the so-called software of life, quote unquote, is ubiquitous and well understood. As Moderna's top scientist put it in a 2021 speech about hacking the operating system of all life forms. In particular, he explains how genetic information you can read what the word is before um, inserted into an organism can seize control of its cells and protein manufacturing processes, just like the juice for the 1984 edition used man-made codes to mass produce toxic spikes in the cells of recipients. Now imagine that, and you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. You can read it for yourself. You can read it for yourself. And you know what we have to do. We have to do when we post videos on YouTube. We can't say what we really want to say. Now because y'all know why. What YouTube will do. Now imagine that on a universal scale. Schwab for the World Economic Forum is enthusiastic about it too. The difference, quote unquote, the difference with this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you're doing, it changes you. If you take a gene editing, just as an example, it's who you are changed. It's you who are changed, quote unquote, Schwab said in a TV in a 2015 TV interview. Biden is more than on board. In a September 12 executive order signed by Biden on advancing biotech and biomanufacturing innovation for a sustainable, safe, and secure American economy. The president shed some additional light on where this was going, calling for a quote unquote whole of government approach to advancing these biotechnologies. Biden dropped a bombshell. Quote unquote, we need to develop genetic engineering technologies and techniques to be able to write circuitry for cells and predictably program biology in the same way we write software and program computers, unlock the power of biological data, including through computing tool and artificial intelligence, and advance the science of scale up production, quote unquote, states the order by Biden, who gave a talk in 2016 at the World Economic Forum celebrating Schwab's vision for the fourth industrial revolution. These proposals are utterly insane, to put it mildly, if not outright criminal. The future of humanity literally depends on stopping these technocratic totalitarians and tyrants who, by their own admission, are plotting the end of mankind as it has existed for thousands of years. They think they're going to take charge of quote unquote evolution and make it better. In reality, they might destroy the planet and all life on it, at least if they are not stopped first, and that's scriptural. That's um that's actually, oh, no flesh would be saved. No flesh would be saved. It's in this chapter. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. That's verse 22. That's how real it's gonna get. This this time of Jacob's trouble, where Esau is gonna come down with great wrath to bring what? His order ab chaos. Order ab chaos in the Latin, which is their Freemasonic, which is their motto, man, for the 33rd degree, I believe. Ordo ab chaos, the same degree where they teach the Masons that they worship Satan. And they got this program out of Georgia. Speaking of Freemasons, let's see. The Freemasons of Georgia set this up. Georgia Child Identification Program. We know where they're going with it. They'll eventually, if they're not offering RFID chips now, they'll eventually offer RFID chips for the identification of your kids. We do, and the reason will be we need to avoid them getting kidnapped. So the way we're gonna do it is we can track them just like we could track animals. But it's no surprising that it's called CHIP and it's called Georgia Child Identification Program, a gift from the Freemasons of Georgia. Hey, a gift destroyed the heart. Georgia Masons provide the GA CHIP program free of charge as a public service and as a gift to the citizens of our state. The Georgia Child Identification Program is a comprehensive identification kit to be offered to parents in the state of Georgia at a GA CHIP event. Freemasons set up the equipment necessary to generate completed identification kits. Each person processes through several stations, taking about 10 to 15 minutes for the entire process. The recorded information is presented to the child's parent or guardian to take home for safe speaking. There is no age limit. Masonship, I thought it's not what we do, it's what we do it for. Sponsored by the Grand Lodge of Georgia, F and AM. And eventually they do want to chip you and your kid. I want to put that grain of rice in you. And gonna be one of the that's gonna be one of the justifications. Oh, oh, just yeah, get the chip to protect your child from being kidnapped. You know, a problem that they caused, right? Child trafficking problem that they caused, that they run. They're gonna say the solution is the RFID chip. It's not like these same devils can't just turn off your chip, can't just turn off the kid's chip if they want to kidnap them or something. You're trusting these same devils that run run pedophile networks and shit. You trusting these same devils. But like Freemasons, for example, they have something called a child bride, and eventually they have something called boy bride ceremony, where they literally walk down the aisle with the little boy. So yeah, you should trust them, right? But nah, it's just another excuse for control. They also want to eventually legalize that too. They don't want to keep doing it in the shadows. That's a whole other lesson. But basically, they want basically that's just going to be another excuse to get you to take the chip. Oh yeah, you want to protect your kid, right? You, why don't you chip them up? But yeah, with that, I hope this video. I'm still used to doing lives, even though it's been a minute. I hope this video was edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the ahchyam out there spreading this truth like wildfire in all truthfulness and in all sincerity. And shalom to the rest of the hopeful elect out there. Abad Babo, that's Babylon. Abad La Gawai, Abad La Adawamium, death to these Edomites. Abad La Gawayim, death to these other nations. And Abad La Ayub Yimnawa, death to the rest of, death to our enemies, the rest of them being you wicked 2/3 of you so-called black people, Latinos, Native Americans, and Israelite foreigners here in Babylon, here in the States, here in the United Snakes of America, as well as you wicked Israelites scattered abroad in these northern kingdom countries and the rest, well, scattered abroad outside of Babylon. Let me just put it that way. Shalom, stay strong, Ababa Ball, and Yasharallah forever.